This episode of Lawyers Tell All is brought to you by the Intake Academy. Do you know how to cement relationships with more of your ideal clients, get them to commit to you, and send you more referrals than you ever thought possible? Visit www.intakeacademy.com, where you will get the strategies you need to make the most of your marketing and advertising dollars. Plus, develop a team of intake specialists and attorneys who convert more qualified case opportunities and build meaningful relationships with prospective clients. Welcome to the Lawyers Tell All podcast, where Chris Mullins, the preeminent sales and communications consultant in the legal industry, shows you how it looks through lawyers' eyes. Here, innovators in the trenches provide powerful insights that help you connect with new clients, handle the sometimes harsh realities of the legal profession, and embrace the mindsets needed to succeed. Be sure to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com. And while you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, lean in, tune in, and let's take a deep dive.
Hello, everyone. It's Chris Mullins with Lawyers Tell All, and today I am interviewing André Rembert, and I'm going to let André tell you about himself. Go for it.
Yeah, my name is André Rembert. I run a two-man personal injury firm in Charleston, South Carolina. In 2023, we were the most expensive designated marketing area in the country in Charleston, South Carolina. I believe the statistics were that $18 million was spent on legal advertising for a population base of 900,000 people. So 2,000 per person, whether they got into a collision or got injured. I started advertising in that, and boy, was that a fun way to dive into TV advertising. Managed to actually get a case out of it that went ahead and paid for everything. But it was a fella that had been so injured that he sat and he was sitting there and said, "Well, your commercials were the only ones that were funny, so I figured I'd give you a try." Okay, whatever it takes. So anyway, yeah, I had my shop for 10 years, been a licensed attorney for a little over 15, and just cranking away at it.
Okay, so you still have your law firm, right?
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, so it's just you, right? You and
I have another. I brought another attorney on. I went solo for a long time. Big thing about my firm. I'll go back a little bit, and I'll try and be as brief as I can, or as pleasant as I can about it. I got my start at the largest personal injury firm in South Carolina, and my background is actually I come from a heavily military family. I have a degree in classics. People say, "What are you going to do with a degree in ancient Greece and Rome?" I said, "Well, I knew I was always going to go in the Army, so I went and blew things up. If you're going to go blow things up, study whatever you want." And because of my military background, whether I intended it or not, I'm very good at analytics and organization. And one of the downsides of attorneys, there's many positive things, but we tend to think that we can do everything, whether we can or not. And the firm that I was working, they didn't understand organization. They didn't understand tying systems together. It was making me pull my hair out. And I just said, I'd rather bet on myself and figure out how to do this on my own. So I popped smoke and military term, and got out of there and saved up money for a year to get my advertising rolling. And 2 weeks after I hung out my shingle, I was on a friend's boat. He used to live on a sailboat, and my friend just got a newer boat to him. And he wanted me to help him crew it because he was uncomfortable with it. And a piece of metal was sticking out, and it ripped my leg open like a plow through soft soil. So I became my largest client 2 weeks in. Had to have nerve repair surgery, 18 months of physical therapy. It's not anything I'd recommend for anybody, but the dedication to the practice really helps me. When I pull my pant leg up to show my gruesome scar, the client stops complaining about their wrist hurting because they don't want to go to physical therapy. I said, well, I got shocked. I had electrical impulses jammed in my leg for 18 months. So I think you can go for 30 minutes to your physical therapy appointment. It's going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Do you say that to them?
Uh, Depending, I don't pull that on everybody, but I've been fortunate. I've knocked out much larger cases than would be expected from a solo PI firm. And in 2022, I brought a classmate in with me, kind of part time as I was advertising to expand the business. Didn't quite have enough for both of us, but I said, well, I'll supplement your. He's a prosecutor in South Carolina. I said, well, if you're part time there, I can part time you here, and we'll just transition you over as everything starts coming across. We've been doing it that way for a couple of years, but I'm the full time. He's the part time. But we're getting enough revenue in now that I can pull him in full time.
Okay. Okay. So like just looking at my note here, it says from Firebase commander to legal warrior. Tell us what that is about. I mean, that's
Well, you gotta guss yourself up when you're going to come to these things. I didn't lie. But
so I want to know.
yeah, I'm at least 10th generation by name. I'm named after the first Rembert to come from France in 1685, and we stayed in South Carolina. So I'm related to dang near everybody in the state, and then my mother's family also very long term South Carolina family. My great grandfather was an artilleryman. His son ended up being a military lawyer and was friends with General Pershing and President Wilson. We have some family letters from Pershing for sure. I can't remember if we do from Wilson. My grandfather was a brigadier general. He was president of his class at West Point, which was the same class as William Westmoreland, and I learned how to swim in Westmoreland's pool. My uncles served that's my mom's side. My dad went to the Citadel, the military college here in South Carolina, taught there for 37 years. He only did 2 years in the military or in the Army, but he was a Ranger and a Green Beret. So I had the Army pumped in my head from a young age. But then mom's an artist and dad's an English professor, so I also had books and art and everything like that. So I went into ROTC and got commissioned from the University of South Carolina. And 3 months after I commissioned, September 11th happened, and I went, oh wow, I'm at war all of a sudden. And Dad had been infantry. I wanted to be infantry. And the needs of the Army looked at a guy that hadn't taken math since junior year of high school, and he said, you're going to be artillery. That's ballistics and trajectories. And so I became an artilleryman without any idea what in God's green earth that was. And they very quickly explained that if I got any of the math wrong and shot the gigantic explosives in the wrong place, I'd go to jail. So I got very, very good at it. And I was stationed over in Germany, and then we went to the second wave of Iraq, and I was able to secure a Firebase for my gigantic self-propelled howitzers. They were called Paladins, and our job was to protect the other base in the area, keep people from shooting mortars at them. We would return fire, and that would scare everybody, and they would not shoot anymore. That was the theory. But mostly, Iraq was hot, dirty, smelly, loud, and bright. Because any further explanation of it, just you're not going to understand because you weren't there, and it's just hot, dirty, smelly, loud, and bright. And I'm glad that I did that. But when it was time, my year in Iraq, that was the time for me to get out of the Army, and I didn't think I was going to stay in there. And I thought, well, let me become a lawyer. And all I knew was that being a lawyer, whatever you think you're going to do before you go to law school is the one thing you're guaranteed not to do once you become a lawyer. So I went in with no plan, so I wouldn't be disappointed. And now here I am 15 years in as a personal injury lawyer.
Yeah. Do you like it?
Well, I was thinking about it. I started getting a paycheck when I was 14, I think at a McDonald's. And I've been a house painter. I got tricked into being a night salesman in college. Sold stereos. I've done all, I delivered catering. I would prefer that I just be independently wealthy. But since that is not a thing that just exists, this is a pretty good job. I like it. I like it pretty fine. The big thing is I like running my shop and being my own boss. And there's a lot of pressure with that, but that's okay. I can take pressure. Nobody I deal with can blow me up or put me in jail, so it's easier than the Army.
Okay, I got that. So what about lessons? Like if you wanted to like share any lessons that you've learned, or maybe like how your military experience has helped you?
Well, yeah, so if you're going to, this really has more to do with business than the law. Yeah, I will always encourage people to bet on themselves, but they have to be willing to take the struggle, because it's not easy. Be thankful if you ever catch any breaks, but the big thing is I see so many attorneys that when they want to set up their own shop, they blow it immediately because the idea of an attorney is more important to them than being successful. They will spend money that they don't need to spend on personnel. I went out of my way to make sure that I set up my system so I could run my shop by myself for as long as possible, and keep my costs down, because the only way to become more successful in as any attorney, it was the one thing that I heard while I was at law school. It was, if you set up your own shop, year 1 you're going to lose money, year 2 you'll break even, year 3 you'll make a profit. If you're open past year 3, you're in the clear. I actually pulled a profit the first year because I kept my costs down. I didn't let my ego get in the way of renting an office in the primo place that was going to impress people that weren't my clients. I didn't go spending money in garish ways to make people notice me. A lot of people become attorneys because of the image and the idea of it, and there's certainly some part. There's a part of that, especially as a plaintiff's lawyer. I drive a BMW, a 4 Series. It's a coupe. It's a manual transmission. I bought the nicer engine. Well, if it were just me, and I had my druthers, that's more of a car, more of an expense I necessarily need. But a lot of my clients can't drive; their cars are total. I go to them, and when I show up in a neighborhood, if I show up in a very reasonable 15-year-old Honda Accord that I've appropriately maintained, they're going to go, that guy doesn't know how to make money. What the hell is that? You need to be a little bit flashy. It stops questions that don't come. But I didn't do that at the start of my business. I had different. I waited until I was well set. Just the number of people that I've worked with over the years that wanted to set out their own thing, and I've told them, hey, you got to keep your costs down. It's going to be difficult. You need to really penny pinch, because if you penny pinch now, you're going to be fine later because you'll make it to later. And they have to give up because they've blown all their money on frivolous things that aren't important.
Mm-hmm. Well, how are you running the business then? Are you using AI? What do you
do? No, so much of what I do is, I've kept up with a lot of my classmates. I've got good friends that are in all areas of law, and I tell them I may not be the best technical lawyer, but that's for what I'm doing. That's not my job. My job, I'm a swap meet negotiator. My job is to grab money and make sure that I keep as much of that money for my clients as possible. And I'm perfectly good. I've argued at the Court of Appeals. I'm one of the few personal injury attorneys that will actually try cases. I've gotten good verdicts and things like that. But are there people that are better at brief writing than I am? I'm certain of it. But on the day-to-day, I seem to do very well, because I don't lose sight of what I'm doing, and I'm not patting myself on the back. If I have to downplay my ego for an adjuster or a defense lawyer, my goal is win, and win is very easy in plaintiff work. It's money. It's get as much of that money as possible, as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
For car accidents, depending on your client, speed has a value. Some people that aren't in it think it's churn and burn, and you're just burning your clients by settling quickly. But there's a cost to time, and when you have a reasonable cushion as a person, and you get into a situation where all of a sudden your car is busted, there's a fight over who can repair it. Well, you just borrow the money from somebody, or you pay to get it repaired yourself and say, well, pay me back. We'll worry about it when you worry about it. But, you're working a minimum wage job, or, you're struggling to make ends meet, and you've got 3 children you got to pay for, and now your car's a problem. Maybe getting that money within 2 months so that you can get your car back up and running is a lot better than getting $3,000 more, or 30% more down the line if you took more time. So, I have to kind of gauge everything there, the value of the case plus the condition of my clients and what they're capable of withstanding. Because a lot of people, it really throws them for a loop, and they have kind of an emotional breakdown.
Right.
I understand it. When I was in my sophomore year of college, I had head gaskets blow on my Mercury Sable my grandmother had given me, and I'm 19 years old, and the dealer tried to rip me off because I was 19, didn't know what I was doing. All of a sudden, he wanted $3,000 for something that was supposed to be a factory warranty. Well, at age 45, running a business and being successful, I'd be annoyed, but okay, whatever it takes, just get it. I had a meltdown as a 19-year-old. My grades crashed. I was having panic attacks. I didn't know what on earth I was going to do. 1998, $3,000 to a kid that had made $3,000 in his life. That was a lot of money. And so I get when people are in a tough spot, even if it seems like it's a minor thing, I know how it can kind of all spin and fall apart. So I do everything I can to keep that in mind. I try and set up my intakes that I do. I kind of have a spiel that if I'm able to do the full thing, it's about 45 minutes, and that's me getting my computer system and everything put together. But it's also giving them the heads up about how the case is going to go, the pressures they're going to come under. So at least they go, okay, he addressed that. This is normal. You're going to feel this. You're going to be uncertain about this. You're going to be uncertain about that. It just takes a lot of the sting out to take the time at the beginning and make sure you prep them. Because if you just, hey, sign this, go to this chiropractor and give me a call on XYZ, you're going to have a real problem with a lot of people. If you just give them all the information, as much of the information you can up front, that tends to stem most of the issues. And the issues for me running a personal injury firm, frankly, are client interactions.
Yeah.
The more I have a client calling me, the more problematic it is. And so I do everything I can to head off the client at the pass by giving them the information at the beginning. One of the things I did early on was signed up with a case management system that had a portal, web portal. And so I really lean on the web portal with my clients, and I say, look, the number one issue that people have with lawyers more than anything else is communication. And it kind of makes sense. If I try and contact you, you're working during the day, you can't pick up the phone, then you try to call me, people get frustrated, but 24 hours a day, you'll be able to log in and find everything there. So you don't even need to talk to me. And, I accept phone calls and text messages and emails. I'll even accept a carrier pigeon if you got one. But if you put everything on the portal, there's a little communication thing there. We know where everything is, and we don't go, wait, did you text me that or did you do that? And if you put it all there, and I just focus on get to that portal. And at the beginning of the case, I put a flurry of documents in there, and they're getting emails from the case management system. And they go, good Lord, they don't know what the heck they're looking at. And part of the time I upload things that they don't even need to see, so that for psychologically they go, okay, he's handling it. And then they just don't call me, which, to be frank, is not me being lazy. I don't have it's one of the things I tell them. I don't have a part in the beginning of their case. The beginning of their case is going to the doctors. There's nothing for me there. My job is to set the case up, get the records requests out for hospitals, EMS, whatever the incident day was. And then their job, and that's where I talk about my leg and everything else, their job is to go to providers, because every time they go to a provider, they're putting money in their pocket. Treat it like a job and everything will work well. If you start blowing appointments, it's money out of your pocket. Doesn't work as well. I'll take care of you, but you're in control. And then my job really starts the moment you say that the doctor said you're back to normal and you go back to work. That's when my job starts. I collect everything and I start fighting insurance companies. They like that.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. Mississippi. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah.
Let's hear that. Let's hear that story.
Yeah. So, when I was young, Dad being an Army Ranger and the family, we're not just military people, we're outdoorsmen. And that doesn't really mean hunters or fishers. I mean, we just like getting out in the woods, hiking, camping, canoeing. Dad used to take me canoeing all over South Carolina. We've got a lot of black water rivers. There's a chemical in cypress trees that literally turns the water black. It's like paddling through Guinness if you've never seen it. It's interesting. It's not poisonous or anything. We just have black rivers. But I got out of the Army and I had a bunch of free time. And my original idea had been to walk across the country. Since I was 18, I'd tell people I was going to walk across the country. And it was a good plan. And my plan was to put one foot in the Atlantic and walk until I put one in the Pacific. And I planned to take a year off getting out of the Army before I went to law school. And I started in September because I wanted to go through the winter in the South so it wouldn't be so cold. And I made it 4 days and 50 miles, and I quit. And the reason I quit was because when I was 18, I had this idea of what I would learn. And if I had done it at 18, that would have been true. But 7, 8 years later, I'd been a Firebase commander in Iraq. I'd been living overseas for years. I've been away from friends and family. And all the things that I thought I'd learn, I felt like I'd already achieved, that the goal had already happened. And I went, this isn't a physical issue. It just, I haven't seen anybody, I haven't seen my friends and family for years. I've been locked away. Am I really going to exile myself for 9 months doing this? And it doesn't seem necessary. And the other part was, it's not the Appalachian Trail. I was walking, on the side of highways. I was just seeing pine trees and dodging side view mirrors. That seemed pretty stupid. So actually ties into a little bit to my theory on business. I changed my plan. This is not, I had a plan. It wasn't working the way I thought it was. And I said, well, I'm not doing, I've got to swallow my pride and do something different. So, went back, I took the ego hit because I'd been telling people I was going to do it for years and had all kinds of people telling me, oh, you don't know what the heck, you just run your mouth for X, Y, Z, but you just got to swallow, you got to swallow it and eat crow. And, but I still had all that time. And so I got all this time, I got to do something. And I liked canoeing and still had some money stored up. So I looked up, was it even possible to canoe down the Mississippi? If you can do the Great American Raft, the Huckleberry Finn down it, surely a canoe can. I looked it up, and about 3,000 people a year try to hike the Appalachian Trail, and 300 finish. 30 people a year try to get out of the Mississippi, and maybe 5 finish. So it's a fairly rare thing. And I contacted a fellow up there, and we worked out the details. And I took a train and bought a canoe up there. And the big change was, I didn't go running my mouth to people about I'm going to.
Well, smart. That's a good one.
You got to learn your lesson. And what I told myself was, I am only going to do this for as long as I'm enjoying it. And if I go up here for a weekend and I make it to the first town and I go, okay, cool, then that's what I'll do. And I'll have a canoe and that's fine. Yeah. Well, 2 months later, it's 114-degree heat index in New Orleans, and I've been down 2,180 miles of the Mississippi River, sleeping on 6 nights a week. I'd be sleeping on the riverbanks or on islands in the middle of the river, and dodging ocean-going ships once you get down to Baton Rouge. But above that, you're dealing with these gigantic barges that are pushing, or tugboats that are pushing up to 49 barges up the river. It's going up and down locks and things like that. And it was a really great thing. I got to meet so many people, and there's nowhere else on earth you can go 2,000 miles and not just not have a bad time, but have people go out of their way to help you out. People, oh, hey, we've got a riverhead place. You need to take a shower. Oh, here, come have food with us. Come give me a beer while I'm in the canoe. So, wow. I'm not the United States has got a lot of problems. People are kind of at each other's throats these days politically. I've lived in England, Germany, Iraq, and Afghanistan for over a year. I've been to 35 countries. I haven't been everywhere, but I have yet to find a place that is as safe, as welcoming, and wonderful as the United States and Americans. And I really hate that people lose sight of what a great country we have, how great the people in it are. And then that was Yankees, as we call them, way up, nearly Canadian, up near the Canada border, and that was Cajuns down in the bayou as I got to the bottom. I had a harder time understanding the Cajuns than I did I think than I did the people from Minnesota. But I had a blast doing it, and then I did something in between. I did the math, and it was depending on timing because I was in that canoe for 12, 16 hours a day. I did something like 2.5 million paddle strokes at a minimum.
God.
My knuckles on my hands were inflamed. Every morning they would be crabbed because I'd been holding the paddle. I'd have to open them, and I'd eat the leave and just rub them together until they loosen up. Then I get the pad and put my gloves on and get the paddle, and take about 30 minutes for my hands to stop throbbing. And when I got to law school a month after I finished that, and I'd been to war. I just went down the Mississippi River by myself, and everybody was terrified of the law school professors asking them questions. Said, "Oh, they make you stand up." I just went, "Well, they can't send me to jail. They can't blow me up, and I'm not going to drown. This is fine. I love this. This is
right. Yeah, right.
I've been through a lot of things that help success and failure kind of put into perspective for me, and I've had my struggles. That injury, that 18 months of injury, all the money I had for marketing had to go into to paying bills. I had to, I just didn't have cases, and I didn't have clients. I think I picked up a handful here and there, but certainly not enough to pay the bills. So I swallowed my pride. I was a waiter on a dinner cruise wearing a boot because my foot wouldn't lift. I had something called drop foot while I waited for the nerve to grow. And I did that. I delivered catering. I worked as a stagehand. At that point I was a 35-year-old lawyer who'd been a captain in the Army. And, there were some people that, they're snobby people that kind of, "Oh man, you're a real failure. You're really screwing this up." Well, I just don't see the world that way. If I were a designer and could design my life, then sure, I wouldn't have done that. But none of us get to design how things happen. All you can do is, these are the circumstances we're in, and then you make your plan on how to get out and around it. And my plan was, do whatever it takes to start socking money away again. Get to where you can make everything done. And the other part, and what I had in my back pocket, I'm a personal injury lawyer that got hurt with a very large insurance policy. All I had to do was make it to negotiating my own case, and I maxed the dang thing out. So that was big. That was major victory one. And from there, well, then I had my seed money. And I already was living dirt cheap because I'd had to live dirt cheap. So I just kept my life dirt cheap, and I spun the thing up and got more cases. And then, I lucked into a few of them being easy and big, which, I'm not going to apologize if I struggle. I'm certainly not going to apologize when I catch a good break. So I caught a couple of good breaks and pumped that back in and just, kept going at it. And I kept at it long enough that one of the things I was told in law school is, it's important to go to law school in the state where you're going to practice, because you're going to be getting business from these people. You're going to know these people for the rest of your life, and you're going to get business from them for the rest of your life. Well, my grades were not the best. I'm clever, but every lawyer thinks they're clever. So what does that even mean? But I became a social butterfly in a way that I had not been. And I went out and I made sure that I hung out with all kinds of different people and, drank beer with them and hooted and hollered and, had a fun guy reputation. And I'm okay with that. I kind of purposely went out of my way to make a big splash specifically for that. And it's worked like gangbusters. I've got a bunch of people that they'll call me and say, "Hey, how do I handle this?" And I don't hide any information from other attorneys. I say, "Well, here, you do this. Here's all my templates. Go for it."
Yeah.
Because most lawyers think, "Oh, well, that's easy money. That's found money." And they'll try and work their neighbor's personal injury case. And then they start getting, they miss XYZ. They start getting beat up, and they call me and go, "Good God, can you just handle this?" And they associate me. So besides advertising, the other thing I've done is I've done a lot of association for lawyers that I'm not trying to force an association on them. I don't say, "Well, just give it to me." I say, "Here, I'll help you do it."
Yeah.
And they just go, why am I doing this when you can handle all of it and I'll just take the money at the end? So that was a big help, and just piece by piece built it up. And the number one issue for personal injury lawyers is finding the right marketing sources. And that's my only trade secret is I never tell anybody where I get my cases, because that's too valuable. That is the one trade secret. My other attorney that I brought in, we've got a good marketing source, and that was a very explicit conversation. I said, you and I can have that conversation. We don't tell our parents. We don't tell, because you never know when they randomly say something to the wrong person, and it's just. And he kind of was like, well, we wouldn't. Nope, it's too valuable. You don't understand. It takes years to find them, because there's a cottage industry of people that are remora that just live off of, parasitically off lawyers by saying, we can bring you cases. And unfortunately, the people that can bring you cases and the people that can't bring you cases all say the exact same thing. So the only way you can find the right people is to spend money knowing that a bunch of it's going to be wasted. But when you find the right one, and it works, and when it works if you've ever seen it, you stop everything else and you focus on them.
Yeah.
So
pay attention to the details.
It's a shell game. My favorite thing, and I'll give this as a free tip to anybody trying to figure out marketing as a solo, do not listen at all when they try to force their metrics, their numbers to you. Specifically, the marketers love telling me about impressions. And I go, I don't care. You could have 40 billion zillion impressions, and if I don't get a phone call, you failed. I am judging you on direct contact, because then it's on me. If I don't convert them, I should be converting. If somebody's looking for a personal injury lawyer for a car accident person, let's say, once they make the call, it's about half of those calls should convert. Half of them are not valid cases, or I call them the insomniacs who howl in the night. They just like calling. They're bored. They want to call somebody, and they just cost me however many hundreds of dollars per click on Google because they need a friend. That's not much fun. But on your normal valid inquiries, it's about 50%. And you gotta be tied to that phone, because that phone, every call is potentially millions of dollars, or more reasonably tens of thousands of dollars. And you just gotta make sure that you really prioritize getting the cases in. That big personal injury firm that I worked for, I'm not gonna put his name into it, but but he it's not a negative, but anyway, he said, I know what everybody says about me. I haven't been in a courtroom in years. I get cases, because if you're the world's best attorney and you have no cases, who cares? I get cases. Well, he's right. Getting the cases is the first step. And there are a lot of people that have their ego built into XYZ about their lawyering, and they don't put the priority into getting the cases. And they have a very tough career in a way they don't necessarily need to. And that doesn't need to take away per se from their legal ability or their legal acumen. But if you're not deadly focused on you're going to get your money in, you're going to have a very hard time building up sustainable practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me just take a look at the time. Okay, so we don't really have any time left. I'm just going to ask you one question before we go. What about the Barkley Marathon? Why don't you do that?
Which marathon?
Oh, you don't know the Barkley Marathon? Barkley Marathon?
No, I don't. What's that?
Oh, you should look into that. I think you'll like that. You got to look into that, Andre. Okay, in Tennessee. Yeah. It's not a marathon like 24.6 miles. It's called that, but it's like 100 miles. So hiking in the craziness. So.
Okay. Well then, I won't look that. I'm not much of that leg injury meant that I'm not the world's greatest runner, but I'm I can definitely hump a backpack around.
Yeah, you could do that for sure. Yeah. So, well, all right then. I really appreciate your time. If anybody wants to get in touch with you for any reason, ask any questions or anything, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, so my website is Rembert Law, REM, M as in Mike, B as in boy, Rembert Law, and my toll-free number Did a little catchy, annoying thing where it's 833 REMBERT. Everyone makes it easy.
All right. Well, super. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really enjoyed it.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. So long, Andre. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to Lawyers Tell All, where Chris Mullins takes you on a journey with lawyers in the trenches who show you the realities of what it takes to succeed in this chaotic, crowded, ever-changing profession. Remember to visit our website at www.lawyerstellall.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Lawyers Tell All.